Hello and welcome to The Real Questions, a program featuring opinions, facts and advice from academics and industry experts. I am your host, Dawn Franklin, and today we will be discussing globalization, mergers and acquisitions, and the trade industry. So I would like to start off by introducing my panelists for the day, Dr. Vic Benyena, organizational psychologist and labor market researcher, and Dr. Nikola Perovic, post-acquisition strategist and international business professor. Welcome to The Real Questions.
Thank you.
It's lovely to have you in the studio. What I'd like to touch on now is how is culture connected with inequality in international trade relations, and will COVID-19 influence this? Dr. Vic, you're nodding already, so let's get your opinion on this.
All right, yeah, culture is a big thing, and I'm also big on culture. There are two main perspectives. Should we accept every culture, or should we make adjustments for culture? If you apply the universalist theory, then you look at every country as either having the same type of culture. But if you look at relativist theory, then you're saying, well, culture is relative. Therefore, the culture of United States is different from the culture of Mexico, and the culture of UK is different from the culture of Germany. If you make those provisions and you are able to train your workforce to accept different cultures, you're more likely to accept. If, on the other hand, you impose your culture or values and norms and traditions on, say, what we will call a third country national, or, if you were operating in a foreign country, then you're likely to, get people fighting back, because cultures are very strong. People are really affiliated to their culture. They value their culture. They don't want to let go of their culture. You find very little room for adjustments to culture in the short run. In the long run, they all become one culture. We call it cultural assimilation. But within the short run, culture plays a significant role. I have always said that there are elements of culture that are not very desirable and have to be changed. I've also said that there are other aspects of certain cultures that are appropriate, relevant, and copyable. Therefore, we should learn from them. I have given examples in the past about certain practices in Africa, for example. And this include how people view time, how people respond to emails, for example. And I have carried out a research on this, and I'll be happy to share this. I did carry out a research, and I looked at 10 different countries, 2 of them from Africa, Uganda and Ghana. And then I took some surveys from United Kingdom as well. What I tested there was I sent out emails to randomly selected companies, and I wanted to see how quickly they respond to those emails. And on the average, most companies that were sampled from Africa, majority of them have not even bothered to reply to the emails. UK, you can get an auto response, or Canada, you can get an auto response. And sometimes in the case of UK, you get a reply within 2 days at the max, right? So these variations in culture, particularly where emails are not responded to, I don't think it's going to facilitate trade for countries that have this sort of culture. It's hard to say whether this is a cultural problem or an attitude problem, in the sense that I don't know why the companies in Africa have not responded to the email. That's something we need to investigate further. But those elements of not replying to emails on time are going to eat your business. If you have a business opportunity and you don't really care to respond to the email, you have a problem. But then cultural elements such as food, language, are very difficult to streamline. So you cannot say, for example, people from Vietnam or people from Cambodia should stop eating their indigenous food and start eating McDonald's all of a sudden. If you are a corporate executive and you take your team, international team, to dinner and you impose this sort of thing on them, then you're gonna, get some problem from these people. So there are elements that we can learn. There are elements that are not very appropriate, and probably we should discard of those in the international market.
I can definitely feel your passion behind the topic of culture there.
Absolutely.
Dr. Nicola, let's have your comments on culture and inequality.
Thank you very much for that question. Actually, that is also a very dear question for me. I delivered for many years a course which was called Cross-Cultural Relation Management, and that was actually my favorite course that I deliver at the university level. I like to say that cultures, practically speaking, either offer solutions or excuses. Theoretically, we can talk about cultural dimensions, Are there, more individualistic or collectivistic, etc.? So many dimensions. But the problem is that cultures need to be reformed. If you want to have your population ready for international marketing competition, you need to reform many elements of your culture. Like, for example, you mentioned some of your examples from your own research, which is just telling me that in some countries there is still the population is still not professional enough. They don't understand that I need to value your time if you value my time. They absolutely need to reform. The big question is, can culture be changed? Yes, but very slowly. We have basically three levels of cultures. We can talk about national cultures, and they are definitely the slowest for any kind of change. But yes, they can change if you have smart governments. Smart governments which are going to guide their nationality. And they say, listen, these are the things from our tradition. They are good, they are important. Maybe they preserved our nationality 200 years ago. But these days, they are not relevant. If we want to compete, we need to change. There are other elements of culture, such as other levels of culture, such as organizational cultures. Absolutely, they have to be changed. You have a so-called occupational culture. That culture can also and has to be very changed. If we talk about occupation, do we work in our lifetime only one occupation, or we have to be very flexible these days? We have to be very flexible. If we don't change our occupational culture, are we going to be ready for the market or not? So there are so many challenges. Absolutely, culture can be changed. Culture, I always, when I deliver this course, I always like to say to my students, there are not good or bad cultures, only different cultures. My culture is not better than your culture, but we have to understand culture is so-called social DNA. We live our culture. Quite often we have like a cultural goggles. They are here, but they're invisible. And we judge based on those cultural goggles. We need to remove those goggles, okay? To first understand our own culture and to be open-minded to understand other cultures. We talked before about necessities and changes in international marketing. Can you be ready for international marketing if you judge other cultures? Absolutely not. You need to understand, and you need to be flexible. Like we said before, in quality management, we use the term agile. So it's like combination of flexibility and control. That is the only way how to succeed and how to have your culture as your advantage, not your disadvantage.
Thank you very much. Very insightful.